Great teachers motivate, inspire, and lead their students, but some educators say overwhelming challenges in the classroom have made their job nearly impossible. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. A teacher not only plans lessons and educates students, but they're responsible for managing the classroom, which sometimes makes them a target for aggressive behavior. In fact, thousands of teachers surveyed say they've been victims of violence, in some cases causing lasting damage.
In Texas, an assistant principal is still recovering mentally and physically from a classroom attack. We want to warn you, the details of her injury are graphic.
What happened to me should never happen to another educator.
With her husband and family by her side, high school assistant principal Kendra Rogers relived a moment in August 2024 when she says a student's aggressive behavior turned violent.
The hanger hit me in my right eye and knocked it out of the socket. I grabbed my face while blood was pouring out of my head and stumbled out of the classroom door.
Rogers' injuries were so severe, she had to be airlifted to a hospital where she underwent surgery on her eye. She says she still requires additional surgeries, and
they determined I had been blinded and currently believe that my damage is permanent.
While Rogers' story is tragic, it's not new. Violence against teachers is a growing problem, one that's gotten worse since the pandemic.
Reporter Kristen Crowley takes a closer look at the issue and what can be done to fix it.
Attacked and nearly killed by a student.
Pepper sprayed by his student.
I'm gonna kill you!
Calling it quits after a scuffle with a student.
It's hard to watch and hard to imagine. Teachers are slapped, kicked, punched by their own students.
Videos posted to social media illustrate the violent problem teachers face.
I'm afraid to go back in there. And I can't trust the children.
And across the country, teachers are sounding the alarm.
That student went to my desk, grabbed a sharp pair of scissors, and threw them at my face.
Staff members with broken orbitals, getting headbutted.
They're beating up teachers, and then they're coming right back into the classrooms.
A study released in 2024, published with the American Psychological Association, says violence against teachers is on the rise.
Thousands of teachers were surveyed. 80% said they experienced verbal threats from students, and more than half experienced physical violence.
This is the horror of education.
We sat down with 3 women in education for a candid conversation on violence in the classroom. Together, they work in Kansas City, Missouri, and have a combined 40 years experience. Stephanie Kimbrough, a middle and high school teacher, Sandra Holliday, a kindergarten teacher, and Kimberly Stelting, who works in the front office of a grade school.
I've had kids stand on tables and throw iPads at me.
And what was your reaction when that happened?
I didn't know what to do at the first, I just kind of stood there and she's yelling curse words at me.
I'm sorry, you said she's yelling curse words?
Yeah, she's cussing me out.
She's how old?
She's 5.
We get threatened all the time. It's not, okay.
I hope you get hit by a car on the way home. I've had kindergartners tell me that.
Yeah, parents come up, okay, well, don't let me come up there. I'm coming up there, or things like.
My mama says she's gonna come up here and shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
Me hearing this, you can see my face.
Yes.
I'm just shocked.
And for us, it's just every day.
While reports of violence in schools have increased, the issue isn't new to educators.
It's been a problem for a fair amount of time. Over the past 15 years.
Dr. Susan Dvorak McMahon is the lead author of the study tracking violence against teachers. In 2010, she found 42% of teachers experienced physical violence from a student. Remote teaching during the pandemic led to a drop, but when in-person learning resumed, both physical and verbal violence against teachers spiked. And not just from students.
Parents cussing me out, and the kids see that. They're doing it in front of them.
What are they saying to you?
I had an email message last year, a dad telling me to kill myself.
Before the pandemic, only 1% of teachers reported they had violent encounters with parents. Post-pandemic, that jumped to 26%.
Why do you think violence against teachers is on the rise?
So I think we have youth mental health needs. I think we haven't paid enough attention to our educator experiences. I think we're not asking them what is happening, what's going on, and what do you think needs to happen, and then how can we support you?
I was assaulted by a student in my class.
I most recently was told by a 5-year-old that they wanted to stab me and watch me bleed out.
In Nevada, teachers and administrators' frustrations over violent outbursts in the classroom and testimony before lawmakers helped lead to new laws in the state.
Nevada has really taken a holistic view of school safety. In order to keep our teachers and students safe, we're really moving toward an early intervention.
Christy McGill is Deputy Superintendent for Nevada's Department of Education. She says part of the change for schools is a greater ability to discipline bad behavior. The other part is helping the violent students with school counselors, psychiatrists, and making sure there's more training for teachers.
I think the legislation really brought a systems focus instead of, we're going to harden our schools, we're going to focus on mental health. No, this said we need to do both.
Since the legislation has passed, has violence against teachers decreased?
Yes, our incidences right now look like they're down, but we can't say for sure until we look at the trends.
That, McGill says, will take at least 2 years. But in some test schools, they saw 20% fewer violent incidents compared with other schools in the state. In the meantime, waiting for change is having serious consequences for the profession. Dvorak McMahon's study found before the pandemic, 49% of teachers wanted or planned to quit. That number is now 57%.
Have any of you thought about quitting your profession?
Every year.
Every year?
Every year.
Now they say it's everyone's responsibility to listen.
We're telling you there's an issue here. Please don't let this continue falling on deaf ears.
There's more to our conversation with the Kansas City teachers, their experience with violence, and their calls for action.
In your profession, do you have a place where you have to have a conversation with your family that I may not ever come back home?
Right. Would you all have gotten into this profession knowing what you know now?
Oh, absolutely
No,
not.
Absolutely not. If I would have known, had a magic crystal ball, I would have gone to vet school.
You can hear more of it on investigatetv.com. I'm Kristen Crowley in Kansas City, Missouri.